Over at Marvel Comics, the publisher threw a bit of a curveball for longtime X-Men readers when they decided to go ahead and nominate Angelica Jones, aka Firestar, to the X-Men's main team of superheroes. Emma Frost put in the nomination, and she said that most of the X-Men never got the chance to know Firestar because Emma Frost pushed Firestar away when she was young. During the Hellfire Gala, Emma Frost stated that she hopes Angelica can forgive her and that Firestar will be an exemplary X-Men. But today, we're going to go ahead and look at how Firestar is starting to integrate with Marvel's latest X-Men team with the brand new X-Men Annual. My name is Arco Braddock, and today let's go ahead and review the latest X-Men Annual to see how Firestar is integrating to this new team of X-Men characters. But before we get deeper into the video, I want to go ahead and encourage you to consider subscribing to the channel if you enjoy our content, and why not go ahead and hit that like button as well. Next up, I want to share a little bit about the solicitation text behind this new X-Men Annual so you can learn a little bit about the context behind this brand new story. The newest X-Men burns up the spotlight. In a surprising turn of events, Firestar, who had not yet fully embraced Krakoa, was elected to the X-Men at the Hellfire Gala. Her history with mutant nature is a tumultuous one for many reasons, but her record as a hero is exemplary. Can she wrestle with her past in time to rise up to the occasion thrust upon her? I want to go ahead and read off the creative team behind this issue as well. And this issue is written by Steve Foxe, illustrated by Andrea Di Vito. We have colors from Sebastian Cheng, letters from VC's Clayton Cowles, and we have a cover that I'm going to show you in just a moment, illustrated by Stefano Caselli and Federico Blee. So here's a look at the gorgeous cover, showing that this issue is mainly going to be focusing on Firestar and Cyclops as they, basically start to reintegrate into the team and go on a special mission together. I want to show off some of the artwork from Andrea Di Vito. I was really struck by how Di Vito started posing some of these characters. I thought that they were really easy to read and that they all had kind of an interesting, first or secondhand action that they were going through. Plus, I think a lot of these characters are so incredibly expressive on each and every page. Like on this second page of the issue, I love how Angelica is emoting very steadily, even despite the fact that it's not like the main action on the page. I found that it's incredibly easy to read from that standpoint. Also, I think some of these kind of like frayed facial expressions, like what we get with Cyclops over here, is just so perfectly expressed from an artwork side of things. Despite the fact that most of Cyclops' face is kind of covered up, we can still tell that he's kind of giving a quirky side eye while trying to be a little bit, intimidating and kind of like basically establish his role as an X-Man. And this next page is really fun too because it kind of lays out the various threats that the X-Men are going to face today. I love how we got the opportunity to see Andrea Di Vito kind of like interpret a few different X-Men characters like Mojo and this like young version of Havoc. That's just a fun kind of side plot that shows up a little bit later on in the issue. But just kind of little moments like these are illustrated so well from Di Vito, who's able to kind of rise up to the occasion here. Now, I did like the plot of this issue, although I did find that it was a little bit thin for an annual that maybe costs $4.99. This issue does give some really strong context for Angelica and shows how she kind of feels like an outsider who's not always a strong part of the team. So kind of getting the opportunity to see, her as the point of view character for an issue of X-Men is really kind of reassuring and good to see. But the main focus of the issue, where the X-Men are essentially trying to figure out who is sneaking and taking some of their krakoan drugs and essentially scalping them for higher prices, isn't incredibly compelling. And essentially, what happens in a lot of X-Men stories that also happens here is that, a supervillain basically gets interwoven in a storyline that seems like it's going to be mainly focused around humans and is going to be, not something that they would need the X-Men for. However, things take kind of like a supervillain, superpowered twist about halfway through the issue, and then it does kind of fall into the normal X-Men formula. At the end of the day, this is sort of a done in one issue, which is a really good way to get some like additional characterization and also just kind of get to know how Angelica is being integrated into the team. But ultimately, I found that kind of some of the characterization, some of the plotting just needed a little bit more depth in this issue. I would have loved it if they would have pulled on maybe some more threads from the main X-Men title and were able to bring in maybe some of the Brood characters or other villains throughout that series. That being said, this issue from, cover to cover all the way through is incredibly pleasant. I think there's some really solid characterization, for Firestar in particular. It's just, I do think at the end of the day, this issue left me wanting a little bit more and left me wanting a little bit more understanding of, who this character is and maybe what Marvel's plans are for this character, for the next year of X-Men. Because the last thing I want them to do is sort of lose this focus on Firestar for upcoming issues. So at the end of the day, I enjoyed X-Men Annual #1, but not as much as I would have liked. From an artistic standpoint, I think Andrea Di Vito really brought in some excellent kind of characterization on the art between so many of the different characters. It was great to kind of get to know Firestar in her kind of like current domestic setting over on the X-Men, but I did want a little bit more in terms of the plotting, in terms of the characterization for the series. If you're a big fan of Firestar and the X-Men, you're likely still going to enjoy this one. But I think that's going to just about do it for our review today. I want to thank you guys so much for coming to check out the video, and we'll be back very soon for more excellent comic book content. We'll see you soon. Bye.